Hi! Welcome to the wood shop of Craftfit. Today we're going to be going over how to stain properly, how to get the best staining job that you possibly can, and some of the tools that I use, and the 3 different kinds of stains that I use typically, and materials. So first, I sand all of my wood 3 different times. I use an 80 grit to get all the edges, a 120 all over, and a 320. I buy these from Lowe's. They come in a pack of 50. I have the orbital sanders that you can use. This one's battery powered. And then I do the rags are from Amazon, a big old pack of rags. If you've went over and used all of your t-shirts in your house that you don't need anymore, they cut easily. They're big and white and fluffy and great for stain. I buy all of my sponge brushes from Walmart. I used to buy them from Amazon, and let me show you why I don't anymore. A good firm sponge is what you really want. So this one is from Walmart. There's barely any give to it. This one is from Amazon. Makes it very hard to control your stain and where it's going. So we don't use these ones anymore. Walmart's the place to go. You can get 25 for like $5. Super easy, super cheap. And gloves, if you can find them. If you don't have gloves, if you get stain on your hands, you can take cooking oil and rub it in, and Dawn dish detergent will cut the cooking oil, but the cooking oil acts as like a stain puller, so it'll pull all the stain out of your hands. Throw in a good sugar scrub and you get yourself a little mini mani. The stains that we're going to be going over are Rust-Oleum liquid stain, gel stain. I use Minwax gel, and then we're going to use this Varathane penetrating wood stain. I have a whole stack of things that need stained today, but we're going to work on this little piece right here and show you how all 3 are different. I have a Glowforge and usually pre-stain before I cut anything out of it, and then after you stain, you need to use transfer paper so that your wood does not get burn marks on them. And a lot of people, I think, are having issues with the transfer paper sticking to the pre-stained wood. So we're going to go over tips and tricks on how to get that to work. Okay, let's do this. So you want to shake up your stains. With gel stain, it's not going to shake. I just use a simple paint can opener. I'm fancy and I use a chopstick. Or you can use a butter knife, which helps really well with the gel stain. You want to load up your brush just a little bit. And I've used some painter's tape so we can compare the stain when we put the transfer paper on. You want to just push it around a little bit. You don't want to ooze it on there. And depending on the elements, the environment that you're working in, you might need to work quickly. I live in Arizona right now, and so I have a little fan going on, so I have to work a little quick because it'll dry. Notice how much pressure I'm putting on to get the stain back up out of there. You want to use as much force and elbow grease as you possibly can to get all the stain out. See, even then, it's a pure white rag, and I did it twice and it came up. It's more important with the very oily stains like the Varathane, and I'm still getting stuff up out of there. So make sure you use a lot of pressure to get your stain off. You can always go back over it and stain it again to try and get a darker color. Let's do that and see. If you have edges, you want to do the edges first. If you do the edges last, you run the risk of wiping off some of your stain on the top side. It's just the way that it works. All right, let's get some pressure. Your stain should always be dry to the touch almost instantly when you're done. Should be no stickiness or runniness. Second rag, still wiping stuff off. Just make sure you get some good elbow grease in there. All right, let's do the gel stain. Now, gel stain is very famous. It acts like Rust-Oleum paint. It'll create a seal in there. I don't know if you can see that. So what you'll do is you'll take I use an X-Acto and just trim around the seal and peel it out. This is totally normal. It's its way of protecting itself. Let me find a trap. And then I take my infamous butter knife, stir it up. Now with this gel stain, you have to work quickly or else it will dry on you. And you never want a gel stain to dry. If it does, it's not the end of the world. Use some mineral spirits and a rag and the stickiness will go away. Don't ask how I know that. Gel stain is, I can't say it's a little more forgiving, but you have less play with it, less time to move it around like you do with the liquid. You have to work quickly. It'll start drying almost immediately. I don't have my fans on in here today, just the one. The gel stain is very good to use with stencils as it does not move, whereas liquid stain tends to like follow the grain. Gel stain does not. It stays put wherever you put it. Usually with gel stain, the first coat is about the best coat you're going to get. We can try and get a deeper coat, but once the gel soaks into the grain, that's about as far as it's going to go. Still getting stuff off of it. Let's go to this Varathane. You can shake it up just a little bit. Now I don't use these very often. I actually take two of them and mix them together to achieve the look that I want. And in my experience, it's a very oily stain. The stain that I mix up, I don't use a brush on because it is that potent almost is the right word. We'll use a brush today on half of it. This is Gunstock, very red color. You don't need a lot of this brand of stain. It is very liquidy and potent and saturating. So you'll see I have a pure white part of the rag right there. Still getting a whole lot out of there. If you're staining and wiping it just the first wipe and attempting to put this transfer paper on or use it for something else, it's not gonna work. You know, the rule of thumb is to let it dry. You never wanna let stain dry. You wanna try and get as much stain back up off of there that you put on there, and then it will actually kind of dry out, so to speak, and then you'll be able to put the clear coat or the transfer paper on there, the clear coat on there, whatever it is you use. Let's try and get this a little darker. Apparently I chose reds today. Choose a new rag to see how much is on there. Still pulling up stuff. All right, so we are done with staining. Take my gloves off. Nice sweaty hands. All right, let's pull the painter's tape and see. Now all of these are super dry. You can just go like this, nothing comes back up. Now, if you're just taking the rag when you stain and you're going like this and it's not even affecting it, you need to push a little harder to get that stain back up. And these liquid stains did good, but the painter's tape was not bleeding as much. The gel stain stays where you put it. Does not run. All right, so after staining, you can put your painter's tape on there or put your transfer paper on there, or you can sand it a little bit. I use these sanding blocks. They are the I think they're actually used for drywall. That's where I find them at, the drywall section of your local hardware store. Lowe's and Home Depot both sell them. You can get the ones that are super long. Extra large drywall sponge is usually where I find them, and cut them into little sections. I like this one because it has a nice angle to it, and you can get like on the sides of your wood and on top. You can use orbital sander to sand it back down, any of it. On my projects, I stain all the backs of my flags. I sand them to 120, and then I stain them, and then I go back with a 320 on top of it to make it nice and smooth for the customer, so my stickers will stick, all that jazz. So it's super nice and smooth now. We're going to dust it. And see if our transfer paper will stick. Now I order my transfer paper from a website called Sign Warehouse. I've used them for over 11 years. Great application for vinyl, but it also does really well on the wood too. It's a little trick. Get you a vinyl roll that your hand will stick in, and it's easy to pull. Then you want to seal it on one side to the table so that it doesn't roll from you, and then just trim it. Where are my squeegees? This tool is very important, a squeegee. They're like $3, I think, online. A credit card works well, but you can see, let me trim. You should also use a whole lot of pressure. And I don't know if it'll show it in this video, but you can see where it's darker up here than it is down here. See that little line that goes across right there? This has been squeegeed, this has not. You need to use a lot of pressure to make sure that your transfer paper is stuck to your wood. We're gonna flip it and trim it, and then we'll see which stains worked well, worked the best for instant application of transfer paper and into the Glowforge or whatever laser that you do use. So that oily Varathane is not very transfer friendly at all. It is very oily, but you can see the raw wood held it very well. We're going into the gel stain, like I'm really having to pull it. And then this is the dark walnut Rust-Oleum. You can see how much is still stuck on there with the Varathane, the penetrating oily stain. The middle, hardly any at all. The end piece, hardly any at all. So if you really like the Varathane, the deep penetrating stain, you need to give it at least, I don't know, a week for it to dry itself back out. We did test it, and my husband used it, and it would not stick. And I think I tried it a week and a half later, and it finally stuck. So you have to like give it some time. If it doesn't stick, even though you say you wiped it all off, there's still a chance that it's still not dry enough for you to use your transfer paper, unfortunately. And I think that is all. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, at Craftfit, and at Craftfit17. I'm on YouTube. I'll list all my little products and tools that I use in this video down below. Let me know what you think. Thanks!